This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
I have the best words.
Tolerated.
I know words.
Mike Pounds.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid.
Anonymous, really anonymous.
I'm very highly educated.
One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
I have the best words.
God bless the United States.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It is Tuesday. For me, it's the beginning of the week, but we've got a debate tonight between the first presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. That's going to be interesting. We're actually going to cover it here on the show, so join us later tonight. But first, let me get some stuff for you. Let me tell you. So we've got a second New York Times story in a series about Donald Trump's finances. You're not going to be surprised to find out that he's a terrible businessman. Let me give you the details on how. We're also going to talk about Brad Parscale and how he is. There might be a reason to his psychotic break, and it might be because he was laundering money for the Trump campaign. Uh-oh. We're going to talk about that. Then we've got a lot of stuff dropping today. There's a lot of news talking about how Donald Trump, what he thinks about religious people. He's a friend of the Christian. He's the greatest Christian. Greatest Christians. 2 Corinthians. Too fast. Well, it turns out no, he doesn't really have a good opinion of religious people. So we're gonna talk about that. We've got, let's see, Wilbur Ross, who is trying to stop the census. And finally, Rudy Giuliani says dumb things. Awesome. Fun times. All right. So we're streaming on a bunch of different platforms today. We've got YouTube, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitch. So we're doing pretty good today. I spent the weekend trying to do whatever upgrades I could to the stream computer. So hopefully everything works and it works smoothly. So we're going to go on. We're going to start out here actually with the Parscale story, which is lots of fun. Before I do, please like and share the stream. Help us out. Like, share on, of course, YouTube. Also, like and share the stream on Facebook. I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to like and share on Twitch. I don't know. I'll get it figured out. We're doing it live. All right, anyway. So let's dive into it. It appears the Trump campaign has been accused of money laundering through companies connected to their former campaign manager. So now their former campaign manager is, of course, Brad Parscale, who over the weekend had a bit of a mental break where he, well, okay, let me get to the details later. But first, very important stuff. Campaign Legal Center, a nonpartisan campaign finance watchdog group, just filed a complaint with the FEC on Tuesday, accusing the Trump campaign of laundering about $170 million through numerous companies, some with connections to former Trump campaign manager Brad Parscale. It's reporting in that liberal rag Forbes. Now, I know, right? The campaign accuses, the complaint accuses the campaign and the Trump Make America Great Again committee of disguising nearly $170 million in campaign spending. Wow, that's a pretty big chunk of change. I mean, Donald Trump owes more to some random people that we don't know who they are. He owes about, $421 million to maybe other countries. I don't know. We don't really know. But he's got these obligations that are coming due very soon. And, of course, that's been the news. It's been dominating the news for at least the last couple of days since it came out with the New York Times with their first piece on Trump's taxes. But this seems like it's probably connected in some way. I mean, Brad Parscale, he was under investigation, it turns out. His finances were being probed, and he was also found to have been actually had lied to Congress. Okay, and so let me give you some of the details on that. So now this is about a Trump campaign data leak, and so now apparently in 2016 the Trump campaign had tried to be a part of voter suppression of African American voters, and so now Parscale testified to Congress that he did not do that. That he did not target by race specifically in get out the vote and or persuasion efforts. Parscale testified under oath. The data that was leaked revealed that Parscale was being less than honest about this. He was also asked, did he participate in a voter suppression operation that targeted African Americans? Again, he was apparently less than honest, according to data from Cambridge Analytica. And so, great. Fun times. So now, we all know what happened to Parscale over the weekend. He get a little bit of a mental breakdown, probably as a result of this. He got smashed, barricaded himself into his house with a bunch of guns, because of America. Came out with a beer in hand to police officers, because of America. And got tackled by said police officers, because of America. That's about the most American story that I've ever seen. And now he is currently in some sort of facility in Florida. So it is pretty interesting timing, again, with the Trump, revelations, with him being accused of being a tax dodger and a criminal. Now, the complaint adds that the firms were headed by Trump's recent campaign manager, Parscale, and created by Trump's campaign lawyers, and alleges that Trump campaign paid millions of dollars to campaign-connected vendors without reporting those payments to the Federal Election Commission, specifically homing in on American-made media consultants, a firm created by Parscale, which was paid over $106 million, making it the campaign's largest vendor. So, great! Nice. Now, look, we don't know if the allegations are true. Obviously, there needs to be more investigation, but if any of this is true, it looks like Parscale is in a lot of trouble. A lot of legal trouble, which, again, could explain the breakdown. It could be that he knew that the chickens were coming home to roost, and everybody around Trump, including himself, is going down, and going down hard. Fun times. Lock him up. Lock him up. Is that a thing that we can do today? Is that what you say? Lock him up? Maybe. Maybe. All right. As some of you point out, the best people. Although Samuel Vimes points out a good point here in the chat. He said, because I like to read comments from the viewers here, says he was tackled and not shot because white America. Oh yeah, you think a black person who barricades himself into their house with a bunch of guns is going to do anything? Is going to survive the situation? Hell no. But it's America, so there it is. All right. Moving on here, let's go to more revelations about Donald Trump's taxes. Following the initial bombshell report about Donald Trump's taxes that was published in the New York Times, there was a second follow-up story that was released. This time, it detailed Trump's history of epic business and financial failures, despite given all the advantages in the world, including his, basically a second lease at financial life because of The Apprentice. And so this is interesting. Now, the New York Times, they write, quote, months after the inaugural episode of The Apprentice, back in January 2004, Trump filed an individual tax return reporting about $89.9 million in net losses from his core businesses for the prior year. So that would be 2003. The red ink spilled from everywhere, even as American television audiences saw him as a savvy business mogul with the Midas touch. Now, of course, we know Donald Trump to have the reverse Midas touch. Everything that he touches falls to shit. All right. So there we go. 12 years later, the image of the self-made, self-saved mogul beamed to the national consciousness. Again, this is the New York Times. They love to get all flowery with their shit. Would help fuel Mr. Trump's improbable election to the White House. But the story of The Apprentice is now now well known. The president's tax returns reveal another twist that has never been truly told. The popularity of his alter ego rescued him and provided him a financial lifeline to reinvent himself after becoming, of course, broke. Now, all right. So it turns out, according to the Times, that Trump's genius was not running a company. It was making himself famous and monetizing that fame. So really, overall, he's good at playing a pretend billionaire. He's not a billionaire for real. He just plays one on TV. He's an actor. He's a sideshow, a clown, a fraud. And that's who he is. And he's good at fake news. But it turns out he is so good at bullshitting people that he ended up actually making about $400 million from it, which is just amazing. Look, if I could make $400 million bullshitting people for a living, what am I doing here, honestly? No, I'm kidding. Of course, I wouldn't do that. But anyway, according to the tax records analyzed by the New York Times, they were able to place a value on Trump's celebrity. While the returns show that he earned about $197 million directly from The Apprentice over a 16-year run, roughly in line with what he, of course, had claimed, they revealed an additional $230 million from the fame associated with it, mostly due to branding. Now, look, this is actually smart, right? You know, if you have a brand, you monetize the shit out of it. That makes total sense. And yet somehow, making that much money from The Apprentice, you don't really have to do anything, but also from the branding deals, and yet somehow he still is broke because he's a moron. All right, anyway. So now where did he get a lot of his deals? Now this is interesting. It turns out that he received an $8,768,330 paid to him by ACN. What's ACN? It turns out that it is a multi-level marketing company that has been accused of taking advantage of investors. So what's ACN is a Ponzi scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. Sorry. That's what it is. It's a pyramid scheme. That's... look, there's only a couple people that make money off pyramid schemes, and they're always at the top. Nobody else does. That's the whole purpose of a pyramid scheme. So, hey, and you know what? It's one of the first times I personally ever heard of anybody making money off a pyramid scheme, so there you go. $8 million. Now, if you invested in that scheme, well, I feel bad for you because you're not very smart. You're a sucker. All right. Now, Trump also received about $50,000 from the Lifetime channel for what they called a juicy nighttime soap. That never happened. $5,000 in net income from a short-lived mortgage business. Oh, could you imagine? Trump homes. Ugh. All right, more. $15 million from Serta, licensing his name to a line of Serta mattresses. So I'm pretty sure that they were overpriced and tacky as hell, but that's what it is. Actually, we've got more information about this. According to the wiki, Trump Home, not Trump Homes, Trump Home, was launched in July 2007 with 2 furniture lines manufactured by Lexington Home Brands. A third furniture line was made available in 2008, at which point the brand was available in more than 18 international territories. A year later, the company partnered with Serta to produce mattresses under the Trump Home name. A line of Trump-branded tabletop crystal, manufactured by a Slovenian company, was launched in 2010. In 2011, Lexington chose not to renew its licensing agreement with Trump Home. 2 years later, Trump Home entered a partnership with Doria International to manufacture Trump-branded furniture. Serta ended its affiliation with Trump Home after Donald Trump described Mexican immigrants as rapists while announcing his 2016 presidential campaign. Lifestyle, a Dubai-based retailer of Trump Home products, also ended their affiliation with the company in 2015 after Trump announced his plan to ban all Muslims from entering the United States. Again, it makes sense because Dubai. And other retailers have discontinued sales of Trump Home products since Trump was elected in November of 2016. So all those deals, by the way, and this is what's important, they're gone. They're no longer sources of revenue for Donald Trump. So he's not making any more money. Understandable. He's not making money. He's broke. He's broke. All right, there's more. The newspaper also reported that Mr. Trump was not terribly discriminating, no shit, in his choice of endorsements. He put his name on everything from Trump steaks, which you read the reviews for it, they're hilarious. Vodka. Yeah, all the Russia gators, their heads explode as soon as you hear vodka. Oh my God, Trump vodka! And then a board game, which sounds boring, and cologne, which probably smells bad. I'm just saying. Anything to make that money, which of course makes sense, right? But here's the thing. His name is all he had. He never really made anything. There were no tangible goods really made by Donald Trump or the Trump organization. It was all about marketing his name out to people. And it's all licensing. Turns out, guy's not a genius. Anybody would have done the same thing. The problem with Trump is that his lavish spending and his investments were all terrible. Were really, really dumb. He would dump all this money into casinos and somehow they would go bankrupt. And he would put money in golf courses, which also would take up a lot of money and end up in losses. Yeah. And here's the other thing, okay? He personally has, to show how much of a not stable genius he is about this, right? He has $421 million in personally guaranteed loans. Those are going to come due within the next couple of years. Now, if you were wealthy and your name was good and you were making a ton of money, your businesses, your organization was super solvent, well, then you wouldn't have to personally guarantee loans. But he does, and it shows that as far as his big business acumen goes, he's got none. Trump's a terrible businessman. And the golf courses that he owns are hemorrhaging cash. Most of Mr. Trump's core enterprises, according to the Times, reported losing millions, if not tens of millions of dollars, year after year. And yet, he continues to live his fabulous lifestyle. Why? Because he's living on borrowed money. Borrowed money and tax avoidance. That's the thing. He's a fraud and he's a cheat. Because look, in order to get these loans, okay, because most American banks, by the way, will not give Donald Trump a loan at all. But the ones that do, Deutsche Bank, for example, not again, has to be foreign banks, right? Deutsche Bank being the laundromat of the world. He has to inflate his assets. So he overinflates his assets so that he can qualify for these big loans. And then when it comes tax time in America, he'll deflate his loans and he'll claim tons and tons of losses. Again, I believe he claimed at some point over $900 million in total losses, making it so that he didn't have to pay taxes for over a decade. And then when he did have to pay taxes in 2016, 2017, he paid $750. And that's it. $750. You and I have paid more in taxes. Okay, as regular workers, regular people. Hell, there are people that pay for their insulin more money than Donald Trump's paid in a year in taxes. I mean, come on. Come on. And so, look, he is, deflating these assets to not pay those taxes. That's tax fraud. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Now, one more thing that I found amusing from this article. When the Times reached out to make sure they got the facts correct, okay, White House spokesperson Judd Deere did not dispute any specific facts for the story. Instead, they called the entire thing fake news. Okay, but what's wrong with this article? To point out something that's factually incorrect. Well, they couldn't point to anything. They couldn't do any of it. Okay, point to something we did wrong. Fake news. It's all fake news. It's all fake. It's all fake. No. 100% real. They got him. They got him. That said, will MAGA care? No. Hardcore MAGA guys, they don't give a shit. They'll be like, fake news. Or they'll also maybe say, Donald Trump's a genius for avoiding taxes. And then they'll go on to rail against undocumented immigrants because they believe they don't pay taxes. They're not a very consistent bunch. Okay. This guy, look, he's a con man, and anybody who continues to believe in him is a sucker. And of course, they continue to prove how much, of a sucker they are by sticking with the biggest con man to ever have ascended into the halls of power. All right. I'm going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back. We've got Donald Trump. What does he think about religious people? More, disclosures here. All this stuff is dropping before the first debate. And so there's a lot to go through. So we'll come back with that story. Then we've got the census. And then finally, Rudy Giuliani says dumb things. It's great. So we'll be back in a minute. Stay right here around the nation.
There's some whores in this house. Wet ass P word.
Silence. Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here. Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here with you. All right, so before we get into more of the stories, I want to give some shout-outs to people who support the show. For one, I want to thank Claudia Eros and Becca Rangel. These are new patrons. So if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. In fact, here, let me post in the chat how you can help us on YouTube. That's, of course, patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Super chats as well. I'm going to read some of those in a minute. Channel members Nadia Jones and Jeanette Villalona. All right. Tango Bangle has a few of these. Brad Parscale lied in court. Push Congress to arrest. Yes, do it. Channel Force UK News over the weekend. Possible cause. And the cameras must stay on. I'm assuming in his jail cell, if that happens. Which it probably won't. All right. You know who else bankrupted a country in recent history? Hitler, and Trump is following a similar pattern, says Goku Just Saying. And Star Trek says the right keeps saying how generous Trump is by giving up his presidential salary because he's so rich. Yeah, right. Anne-Marie Frazier over on Facebook says the greatest con man ever. And hello, Andy Knight, watching over in England. Love my international viewers. Let's see, over here on Twitch, Young Turks Reviews says, hi. What's up? Well, what's up with you? It's doing a show. So, it's funny, I also see some comments about how, like, apparently I'm washed out. And I realized I am washed out by my studio lighting. So, look, I'm not super tan to begin with, to be fair. But the lighting does not help. As well as the baldness. And so, oh my God, we're talking about chia seeds here with Donald Trump's head. Chia. That's terrible. All right. Nicole Roberts, we're going to be doing some, and I say we because I'll be joined by a guest in covering the Democratic and Republican debate. I'm not multi-streaming with Restream, no. Right. Moving on, let's dive in. We all know President Donald Trump is beloved by evangelical Christians. In fact, he won that group by over 80% in 2016. But you're not going to be shocked to find out that despite what he said publicly about faith, and his professions of religious faith, that, well, you're not going to be surprised what he thinks about them in private. So there's a story out here in The Atlantic written by McKay Coppins. And, well, the story immediately starts out with Donald Trump speaking to Michael Cohen about one of the mega pastors or mega church pastors that we have seen before. And so this is Creflo Dollar. Now, apparently, Donald Trump's a big fan of Creflo Dollar, not because of his religious teachings, but because he's really good at conning people. So remember, this is back when not only Creflo Dollar, but then you had like Kenneth Copeland, all these mega church pastors trying to raise money for their own jets. I mean, that's where the famous Kenneth Copeland tube full of demons thing comes from. So they're all trying to get their followers to pay, like, in this case for Creflo Dollar, about $60 million to buy a private jet. Donald Trump and Creflo Dollar are friends. Knew them personally, right? And so during that meeting, when he had met Creflo Dollar back in 2011, Trump had bowed his head in prayer as the pastors laid hands on him, which, of course, he thought was actual bullshit. As we're going to go on to say in the article, to find out in the article, but still, he really liked Creflo Dollar because of the fact that he's an excellent con man. In fact, Trump, according to Coppins, seemed delighted by the scam, and this is according to Michael Cohen, who spoke to Coppins, and was eager to highlight that the pastor was, quote-unquote, full of shit. They're all hustlers. Well, one hustler knows another. Yeah, they're all hustlers. That's exactly what they do. But look, naturally that doesn't disgust Donald Trump. It makes him giddy. The idea that a scam artist could take advantage of something so personal as somebody's faith, he thinks, great, I can capitalize on that. And he did. Again, you've seen him go and make all sorts of pro-Christian statements. For example, getting in the war on Christmas and saying, now you're allowed to say Merry Christmas again. But we never didn't. We were always able to say Merry Christmas if we wanted to. But, you know, conservatives, super conservative Christians were always like really, really upset when somebody would tell them Happy Holidays. They couldn't stand it. Oh, how dare you tell me Happy Holidays? It's Merry Christmas. And so Donald Trump comes along and says, oh, I know how to take advantage of the stupid people. I just tell them that the liberals are saying that you can't say Merry Christmas, which is ridiculous. And then I can come in and say, well, now you can say Merry Christmas again. And it's all because of me. Of course. Jordan Secrist in the chat says, Trump does this on purpose. He plays every side like a sleazebag. Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's more. Now, he has done some things for the Christian community. So it's not like they didn't get anything from this exchange. For example, the embassy was moved to Jerusalem. That inflamed a lot of Muslims, which, of course, he loves, as well as makes a lot of evangelical voters, one of the ones who love the end times prophecies, especially, very, very happy. There's also the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to Ruth Bader Ginsburg's open SCOTUS seat. Of course, Amy Coney Barrett is part of a cult called the People of Praise. It's a Catholic sect that even mainstream Catholics say, oh, no, that's a cult. They speak in tongues. They believe in, of course, religious patriarchy. And so that's, I guess, a gift to super religious people because this is somebody who said, well, I don't believe in the right to abortion. What Trump gets out of this, of course, is not only does he get a social conservative champion to help him in the eyes of his followers, but he also gets somebody who's going to overturn Obamacare. So there's that. Now, that's public. In private, Trump's comments about religion were marked by, quote, cynicism and contempt, according to people who have worked for him. In fact, former aides tell McKay Coppins that they've heard Trump ridicule conservative religious leaders, dismiss various faith groups with cartoonish stereotypes, shocker, and deride certain rights and doctrines held sacred by many of the Americans who constitute his base. Now, you guys know I'm not a religious person myself. I'm an atheist. I'm not a fan of any religion. Personally, I don't believe in them. But at the same time, Donald Trump's different. He may be an atheist. He may be agnostic. But instead of allowing people, while not having any faith of his own, to do what they're going to do, to believe what they're going to believe, he actively takes advantage of them, literally uses them for his own advantage, and then mocks them behind his back, or behind their backs. His view, according to McCoppins, was, and this is from a Trump advisor, quote, I've been talking to these people for years. I've let them stay at my hotels. They're going to endorse me. I played the game. That's all it is. It's just a game. It helped that Trump had seemed to feel a kinship with prosperity preachers, like Creflo Dollar, often evincing a game recognizes game appreciation for their hustle. The former campaign advisor also recalled showing his boss a YouTube video of the Israeli televangelist Benny Hinn performing basically what's called faith healings. While Trump laughed at the spectacle and muttered, "Man, that's some racket," which is true. I can't disagree with that, but nonetheless. On another occasion, the advisor told Coppins that Trump expressed awe at Joel Osteen's media empire, particularly their viewership. Oh, look at the ratings, the greatest ratings. You want to laugh, by the way. Follow Joel Dongstein on Twitter. You won't be disappointed. All right. So there's more. In Cohen's recent memoir, Disloyal, he also recounts Trump returning from a 2011 meeting with those pastors who laid hands on him and said, quote, "Can you believe that bullshit?" Exactly. Now, look, here's the thing about Trump. Trump, yes, he's in the White House. We all know this, right? It's not really a controversial thing to say. But he's got all these people around him in the White House that are Christians. People like Mike Pence, they call themselves Christian, right? And so he's got all these self-professed, super religious evangelical leaders around him. They had to know. Well, apparently they did. They don't give a damn, apparently, as long as Donald Trump plays their game. In a September 2016 meeting with about a dozen influential figures in the religious right, including talk radio host Eric Metaxas, Dallas megachurch pastor Robert Jeffress, and Wayne Grudem, were recorded talking to Trump about religion. Basically, Trump says and admits, "I don't know the Bible as well as some of the other people," and also joked about his inexperience with prayer. He said, "The first time I met Mike," he said, "Will you bow your head and pray?" And I said, "Excuse me, I'm not used to it." At one point in the meeting, Trump also interrupted a discussion about religious freedom to complain about Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska and brag about his nickname. Quote, "I call him Little Ben Sasse. I have to do it. I'm sorry. That's when my religion always deserts me." As if that's clever. Little Ben Sasse. What? What kind of nick? It doesn't make any sense. All right. Guy's a moron. And he thinks he's so goddamn smart and clever. It's amazing. And yet, by the end of the meeting, of course, while all these religious leaders were basically talking about, they were basically shitting on trans people. By the way, trans rights. Apparently, Donald Trump had their support by the end of the meeting. He said, "I'm not voting," this is Jeffress, "I'm not voting for Trump to be the teacher of my third grader Sunday school. That's not what he's running for. I believe it is imperative that we do everything we can to turn people out. It's because Donald Trump's a useful idiot." Yeah, they think, well, look, I don't care if he's a Christian or not. We're going to get what we want from him. So what does it matter if he believes in our faith? And so let's understand, too, that they all know, all these followers, they know, all these leaders, they know, they don't care because they think through him, we're going to get what we want and it's going to be effective. And of course, it was effective. They did get stuff that they want. And as a result, Donald Trump got over 80% of the evangelical vote, the turnout. It's amazing. And of course, now they're working on the Mormons, but I'll get to that. Now, to those who have known and worked with Donald Trump closely, the notion that he was in any way religious was viewed as a joke. Barbara Rez, former executive at Trump Organization, said, "I always assumed he was an atheist." AJ Delgado, who worked on his 2016 campaign, told Coppins, quote, "He's not a religious guy." Mary Trump, the president's niece, says, quote, "Whenever I see a picture of him standing in a group of pastors, all their hands on him, I see a thought bubble with the words, 'What suckers?'" Suckers. Rubes. Dupes. And it's not just Christianity. I'll get to the Mormons, but you also have the Jews, right? So he tries to use Jewish people for his own gain as well, and then mocks them. Last week, the Washington Post reported that after calls with Jewish lawmakers, the president said, because he didn't get their support, that the Jews are only in it for themselves, which you know is a deeply anti-Semitic trope. Cohen also told Coppins that years ago he was with Trump when his wife, Melania, informed him that their son was at a play date with a Jewish girl from his school, and he replied, "Great! I'm going to lose another of my kids to your people." And this is him talking to Cohen. Michael Cohen, of course, is Jewish, which I didn't know for sure, but now we do. Michael Cohen, Jewish. Oh, I'm going to lose another kid to you people. What the hell, man? What the hell? So there's one more interesting thing, as I said, the Mormon stuff. So now the Trump campaign has been working in a massive outreach to the Mormons. So now they did not do well with the Mormons in 2016, and they've been working on it for the past 4 years to try to make inroads into that community. It didn't really help that that Donald Trump himself went after Romney really, really hard, as well as, of course, immigration. But at some point, they've been able to make a breakthrough, and they were using Don Jr. to do so. In fact, according to some sources in the story, Don Jr. had openly talked about converting to Mormonism. Oh, how shameless is this family? How absolutely, utterly shameful are these people? Super gross and opportunistic. Oh, yes, Don Jr. Oh, I'm totally into the tenets of Mormonism. I can't wait to read the Golden Plates with Moroni. And I can't wait to see what kind of planet I get after I die. And the underwear. Can't wait to get that magic underwear. Come on, dude. Really? I don't believe it at all. I don't believe it at all. They're such fake people. Fake people. Fake news. Here's another example of how they really feel about Mormons. When Coppins interviewed Trump back in 2014 at Mar-a-Lago, Trump was making fun of Mormons and said that his religion lost him the election. So now here's the thing. You know what lost Mitt Romney the election? It was Mitt Romney saying that 47% of the American public were moochers and losers. That was enough to lose him the election. Now, of course, Donald Trump calls everybody a loser. Even soldiers, losers and suckers. Suckers and dopes. If you serve your country and you die, well, you're a dope. You're a sucker. That's according to Donald Trump. Now, what's funny is Coppins himself is Mormon. And so he's like, hey, I'm a Mormon, right? And his response tells everything. Trump then quickly changed tack, extolling the church's many virtues, and then switching subjects. Because of course he did. Oh, you're Mormon? No. Tremendous Mormonism, tremendous church. Golden plates, wonderful. The greatest golden plates you've ever seen. Beautiful. He's such a fake person. Such a fake person. Now, when Coppins shared the story with Cohen laughed, and Trump, he said, frequently made fun of Romney's faith in private and was especially vicious when he learned about the religious undergarments worn by many Latter-day Saints. He's going after the underwear. Oh my God, Cohen said. How many times did he bring up Mitt Romney and the undergarments? Look, man, this just goes back to what we've said before. He thinks you're stupid. He thinks everybody is stupid and that he's the smartest person in the world. Really. He thinks that we can't tell that he treats people as marks, right? As useful idiots. And behind the scenes, of course, hates you, hates your faith, hates everything about you. As long as you're useful to him, though. Thinks you're disgusting. Glad he doesn't have to shake your disgusting hand because of COVID, okay? And yet he is savvy enough, by the way. Not smart. Smart's something different. He's savvy enough to actually humor you, to screw you over in front of your face, to lie to you, to be able to so effectively gaslight you into believing the things that he says. And to reinforce it, is able to give you things, right? Because he's a transactional person. He understands, at least in that part, how to deal, right? And so, and he'll give you these things so long as it doesn't negatively affect his life whatsoever. So, I got some examples, right? Abortion rights. So, he's not a woman. Rich people can get abortions anytime they want, even when they're outlawed. So, yeah, of course he's going to appoint somebody that's going to go after abortion. Yeah, he's going to talk shit about abortion. Trans rights, for example. He's not trans. He doesn't know any trans people. He doesn't give a damn. The embassy doesn't care. Again, he thinks it's going to give him Jewish voters, and as well as the evangelical Christians who believe in the crazy end times. It's a double win for him. None of the negative things that he has done in the name of religion to other people, to people who are harmed by these things, affects him at all. So he doesn't care. He's going to do it also that he can get your vote. And that's it. That's it. And this arrangement seems to be pretty good for conservative Christian leaders and megachurch pastors who will continue to make more and more money and pay very, very little, if anything, in taxes. And so at the end of the day, to those people, as well as the base, they're not going to care if he thinks that they're idiots in private. It doesn't matter to them. Ironically, it's that same principle that he and I do agree in. They are idiots. Donald Trump's religious followers are not smart people. They're dumb people, but at least I'm honest about that, and I'm willing to go on the record saying so. All right. Moving on. Let's try to do this as fast as we can here. Get through the rest of the show. Whoops. What was that? Members of the Trump administration continue with their rampant lawbreaking. This time it's Wilbur Ross, who is ignoring a court order. So the court order, of course, has to do with the census. It's really important. Basically, the census determines whether or not you're going to get more representation for your area, as well as federal fundings for your city, states, and localities. So those things are very important, and the census only happens every 10 years. Republicans, though, they don't like the census. They see it as a threat to their power. Now, why? Why would it count for all the people who live in this country, who are here physically? How does that affect their power whatsoever? Well, the answer to that is diversity. America is changing. It is becoming more diverse. You have more black and brown people. And so that is a direct challenge to Republican power. And so Wilbur Ross is doing everything he can to make sure that the census actually misses as many of those people as possible to hurt those communities. Now, there's a wrinkle here as well in the census. It's already been impacted by COVID, by the coronavirus. And so it's actually taking longer to collect census data. And so the courts, for obvious reasons, are, making sure that maybe we could have an extension, have more time to get this done. The current deadline now is October 31st. But the Trump administration, specifically Ross, is saying, no. We're going to have it done. We're going to stop counting. Whether we're done or not, we're going to end this on October 5th. Well, that's if you want to go against a court order, which, again, that's exactly what they're doing. According to an article in Common Dreams, just days after a federal judge ordered the Trump administration to reinstate the previous October 31st deadline for the 2020 census, the U.S. Census Bureau late on Monday released a one-sentence statement announcing that Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross plans to shut down the once-in-a-decade count on October 5th in open defiance of court instruction. The Secretary of Commerce has announced a target date of October 5th, 2020 to conclude the 2020 census self-response and field data collection operations. the Census Bureau said in a Twitter post just minutes before a court hearing on the administration's compliance with last week's court order. In response to the statement, Judge Lucy Coe of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California ordered the Commerce Department to turn over records related to the decision to shut down the census on October 5th by Tuesday, that would be today, at 1 p.m. Of course, as of filming this, I still don't know if they had complied with this order. They may not. But understand that Republicans are doing this because they are afraid of the changing face of America. Instead of majority white, it's becoming majority minority, which again would make them not the minority, but the majority. And there are certain white people that are super afraid of that. They are deathly afraid, and as a result, deeply racist. They don't want people that don't look like them to count, immigrants. And look, it's not because they're automatically liberal. That actually does have a lot to do with it. But here's the thing. Minorities are more likely to vote for Democrats because Democrats don't openly despise them the way that Republicans do. If Republicans actually wanted to win the Latino vote, for example, well, they would have to reach out with policies that help Latino people, right? But they're not doing that. Why? Why? Because there's a large chunk of the Republican base that's racist. And so they don't want to offend those people. So instead of changing their outreach, they're just making sure that people can't vote. Making sure people can't vote, and also making sure that the people that are here do not get representation. Now, civil rights groups have been fighting the Trump administration on this. Complying with a federal court's order is not optional. Treated immigrants' rights groups make the road New York. The Trump administration is flouting the rule of law to undercount and erase our communities. Senator Jeanne Shaheen said on Monday that Ross's defiance of a federal court order, which the Trump administration is currently appealing, is disturbing and another example of the Trump administration politicizing the census. Shaheen warned that rushing the census risks an inaccurate census and a constitutional crisis. Well, that's not the only issue here. Once again, the Trump administration is ignoring the courts. Whatever happened to law and order? Oh, right. The only law and order that matters is theirs. Of course. In a statement late on Monday responding to the Trump administration's effort, House Oversight Committee Chairwoman Representative Karen Maloney says this, quote, "This should not be a partisan issue. The Trump administration's unlawful undercount will negatively affect the hundreds of millions of dollars that both red and blue states are due in federal funding. It is time that the Trump administration stopped working to politicize and jeopardize the 2020 census." Democrats, you still don't get it, do you? Wakey, wakey, Democrats. They don't care. The Republican Party is not a rational actor. They're not an actual party. They're not a political movement. They're a death cult. Okay? They don't care that their undercount will hurt communities of color. Because that's the point. That's what they want to do. And they don't care that it's unlawful. Tut-tutting them and giving them, a strongly worded letter or condemnation isn't going to do a goddamn thing. He'll laugh as he balls up that letter and tosses it into the nearest trash bin. No, what you have to do is hold him in contempt of court. Put him in jail until he follows orders. Or until there's a ruling that is different. Again, strongly worded letter isn't going to do a damn thing. And look, Wilbur Ross, he's laughing at you. Okay? The Democrats. Because you're too goddamn weak to do what needs to be done. He knows exactly what he's doing. And look, I, for one, am pretty tired of having a criminal administration. And I get it. Every administration has done illegal things. Maybe if we actually punish them, they might stop doing illegal things. I know it'll probably never happen, certainly not under a Biden presidency, but it's never too late to start holding these people accountable. Whether or not they will or will it actually happen, I don't know. But nonetheless, we'll have to see. I hope the Democrats can be strong and actually hold, Wilbur Ross accountable, or Ross gets smart and decides, I'm going to follow the courts. Again, we'll have to see. All right. Let's see. Melanie Dennis says, remember to be more active in your local and state politics and positions. It all starts from the bottom on up. Absolutely, Melanie. Autumn Leaf says, video just popped up. Thought it was InfoWars. Oh, my God. Wow. Nope. Completely opposite of that. That said, we're going to go to making fun of Rudy Giuliani now. Awesome. Even Fox News is not having Rudy Giuliani's BS. Take a look.
Man has dementia. There's no doubt about it. I've talked to doctors. I've had them look at 100 different tapes of his 5 years ago and today.
The Biden people say he's fine.
Oh, he can't recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and he's fine. He was in the Senate for 160 years. I mean, he can't do the prologue to the Constitution of the United States or the Declaration of Independence, any of them. He can't do numbers. Wow, are the numbers screwed up? He actually displays symptoms that two gerontologists told me are classic symptoms of middle-level dementia. Right. That's when he does that. I pledge allegiance to the United States. I think done that twice. Well, that's a classic symptom, and the DSM-5 is the fifth symptom of dementia. He's got 8 of the 10. Look, that isn't the debate. He can get through it. I think the president is quite right to say maybe he's taken Adderall or some kind of attention deficit disorder.
Right. And that's why the president wants to do a drug test. But, none of us are doctors.
I'd also check his right
pocket. That's your opinion. But so it will be interesting to see what happens tonight.
Oh, no, it's not just my opinion. It's the opinion of a number of doctors I've actually, interviewed.
Right.
All right,
we could stay away
let's talk about the Supreme Court, because that's going to be a topic tonight at the debate.
Wow. Whoa. Even Fox News are like, that's your opinion. That's your opinion, man. Anyway, we're not doctors. Go. Let's talk about the Supreme Court. Wow. And of course, you could see Brian Kilmeade's face there as well. He's just like, the whole time, probably thinking,
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
I don't know. Still hilarious. Ainsley Earnhardt could not wait to get off that subject, though. Look, you want to talk about having something wrong with your brain. Rudy Giuliani might be a good example of this. Again, he's talking about the DSM-5. It's the fifth symptom in the DSM-5, and it's the 5. He's got 8 out of 10, I think. Do you even know what you're talking about? The DSM-5 doesn't even use the word dementia anymore, by the way. What was referred to as dementia is now called major neurocognitive disorder. And some of the symptoms of this include confusion in evening hours, disorientation, inability to speak or understand language, making things up, mental confusion, and inability to recognize common things. There's also behavioral changes, irritability, personality changes, restlessness, lack of restraint, or wandering and getting lost. Now, I'm no doctor, so I'm not qualified to do. Oh, but by the way, he speaks to doctors, right? Yeah. I'm pretty certain the only doctors Giuliani has spoken to have the last names Pepper and Thunder and come in a pack of 6 or 12. Come on, dude. Come on. So, look, nobody here is qualified to make any sort of diagnoses. That goes double for Rudy Giuliani, who appears to have his own issues. Just appears. Ridiculous. Too much fun. All right, guys. Oh, all right. Debate coverage starts tonight. Later on, we'll have a stream ready for it, and so we'll see. We'll see if this is a knockdown, drag-out fight. My God, I hope Biden brings his A game. Oh my God. If not, it's gonna be bad, real bad. So, let's hope. Let's hope. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Subscribe. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitch as well. All the different platforms. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Become a patron. Patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. And we're going to start, I believe it starts at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, Jeff James. And so that's when the debate starts. We'll probably start around then. If not a little bit before to get everybody, into it. I'm going to be, I'm going to have a co-host, a friend of mine. So we're gonna do that together. Should be a lot of fun. Anyway, join us there around 7:45 ish, and that's Eastern time for the debate. All right, guys, love you. We'll see you all tomorrow. And later on tonight, for those of you who are going to watch the debate with us. And till then, love you guys. And remember, change begins with you.
Silent. Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Mike Pounds. Why? Oh, you're getting nervous, man.
Tolerate.
Please clap. You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.